This video is a craft-off between myself and Darkest Raven Designs. The prompt is Fairy Door. When I heard the phrase fairy door, I immediately thought of a D&D scenario that I was writing. The portal gets opened up accidentally inside a tavern, and hijinks ensue. Originally, I was going to use the Whiz Kids as a base for this craft. I even set it up with the clearance Halloween LEDs from a couple years back. I tested out a new way of utilizing mold putty instead of my usual tin-cured mold-making material, and it worked out okay. I got some very good molds of the tiles, which then I could pour with resin material and make some duplicate see-through tiles. At this point, I was pretty sure how I was going to get the Feywild portal effect on the floor, but I realized that with this setup, I was being incredibly lazy. This is supposed to be a craft-off, this is supposed to be out crafting, so I decided to do 100% custom-made everything for the tiles. The only pre-made stuff was the Hearst Arts molds that I used to make the bar set itself. If you're interested in learning more about the Hearst Arts stuff, I made an entire video about that I will link below. Likewise, if you want a full rundown on the resin tiles that I crafted, I will also link that video in the description as well. I'm making a little platform here. This is so the LEDs can be easily fit underneath the tiles and shine through the custom resin piece that I casted. Now, obviously, if I wanted to make this setup a little bit easier, I could have done some flat LEDs, which could easily fit underneath a build with no need for a platform. However, this channel really is about cheap miniatures and cheap crafting. So even though the platform is more cumbersome, it's infinitely more cheap. You can use a variety of inexpensive LEDs, which I will show you in just a moment. Trying to get a consistent paint job on these tiles here, so when I paint the translucent tile, it will kind of fit in with the rest of them. I was briefly tempted to use pre-made bottles for this project. I decided against it. I ended up using some Hearst Arts molds to make some translucent bottles with resin, and then I used a little bit of tinting material that's generally used for stained glass and stuff like that. And I used that to make some very pretty pink bottles for this project as well. For the wooden tile where the portal would be, I ended up making a triquetra mark just because it kind of looks cool. It's the tri-knot symbol, and I thought it would make a interesting looking portal to the Feywild shape. And then I very carefully painted up the rest of the translucent bits here, so only the center would showcase the light pouring through the portal. And of course, I had to cut the little cardboard thing here. There was probably a better way to do it, but this rough way worked well enough for this purpose. So with the resin tile completed, I had to decide on a cheap LED. The Halloween ones that I had worked well enough, but El Cheapo tea light candles from the dollar store, heck, these things are always my favorite. They flicker, they're strong enough to be seen in full light, and so I just had to test to see how they would look in my design, and it looks pretty magical, especially with the little flickering effect. Look at that. Perfect for the Feywild, not like evil, like a portal to the abyss or anything like that. Very nice. This worked out a lot better than any other LED light, and it really did make me happy that the cheapest alternative was the alternative that worked the best. That would make me very happy. On to the green stuff sculpting. Armature wire and green stuff was pretty much the only stuff that I used to make these little miniatures. The vine miniatures and of course the mushroom guys. If you are interested in a full video about mushroom guy sculpting, you can find that in the description below. On the subject of green stuff sculpting, I will note that there are two things that I discovered recently. A commenter on my video told me that parchment paper is good because green stuff will not stick to it. And also, I've been watching the Miscast YouTube channel where he has been making his own Warhammer miniatures, and he had the tip of using isopropyl alcohol, which apparently he picked up from the Craftsman, on the miniature to get rid of fingerprints. And this is great. I've watched so many tutorials and somehow that tip eluded me. That's a very good tip. If you're working with kneaditite green stuff, a little bit of isopropyl alcohol will kind of get rid of some of the smallest things, which are usually fingerprints, and kind of smooth it out. So you will note that these miniatures are a lot more smooth with less fingerprints because of that tip. Link of that video in the description. And of course, the base is coffee stirrers, and all you gotta do is drill a hole and fit in your painted miniature onto the painted base with a little pre-drilled hole there, and the miniature is affixed to the base very securely. Resin Effects really helped out with these guys. If you're interested, I will also link the video where I painted all these guys. So all the pieces are done. Let's assemble our little scene here for the D&D encounter. With the regular tiles in place, this looks like a completely normal tavern. But with a mishap of Feywild magic, a portal will open up and all sorts of magical creatures from the Feywild will invade this tavern. So there you have it, the final scene. More of a nuisance than a threat, with the mushroom guys taking advantage of the unattended beverages and just kind of chilling out in their new surroundings. Of personal note, I really enjoyed this mushroom person who had his bottle stolen by the vine here. This pose is actually pretty useful though, because he can be easily talking to a PC or an NPC, or just being dramatic, his arms flailing around. And all these mushroom guys are very charming in their own way, and I'm glad that I took the time to sculpt each of them individually. I'm not quite sure how useful most of them will be for D&D miniatures, but you know what? They're so weird and goofy. I will be happy to have these guys on my shelf. And once again, the little resin bottles that I casted, as well as the extra little drops of spilled fluid, they really look nice, and I'm glad that I included them in this build. And frankly, I've already thought of a couple other D&D uses for the custom little portal thing here. I will definitely be on the lookout for more cheap LEDs after Halloween. If you consider the Herstarts bar scene and the resin tiles that I had previously crafted and molded, I put a tremendous amount of work into this little diorama. But you know what? I learned an awful lot, and I kind of rediscovered my joy of crafting goofy little miniatures, and I really want to do more of that in the future. I want to sincerely thank Darkest Raven Designs for including me in this collaboration. This is my absolute first craft off, and it was an incredible amount of fun. I definitely am incredibly interested to see what Darkest Raven Designs will do for the for this craft off. Fairy Door. I know she's doing something with mushrooms as well, so I'm super excited about that. If you have not seen previous videos by Darkest Raven Designs, may I suggest check out the sock monster video. It is an absolute brilliant video, and it really is inspirational for coming up with weird monsters and stuff like that. So please check out what Darkest Raven Designs has come up with this challenge, and also please give me some feedback about this video. If there's any other crafting videos you're interested to hear about, please let me know in the comments below.
Have a great day, and as always, thank you for watching the video.